My whole life was a lie. Even my daughter isn't my child.
The DNA test results sat on my kitchen counter like a loaded tool. According to the paper in my hands, Allie wasn't my daughter. 16 years of bedtime stories, scraped knees, and father-daughter dances, all built on a lie. I set the fake report down and opened my laptop. The real test results glowed on the screen. Allie was mine. 100%. But Tessa didn't know I'd ordered both tests. My wife thought she was destroying me with a fabricated paternity fraud. Instead, she just handed me the perfect weapon. 3 days earlier, I'd found the videos on Tessa's cloud account. 27 files of my wife writhing beneath Logan Price, her personal trainer turned lover. The timestamps went back 18 months. While I worked 60-hour weeks demolishing buildings for the city, she was building a new life with someone else. I didn't scream, didn't throw anything, didn't confront her when she walked through the door that evening with her fake smile and designer workout clothes. Instead, I made coffee and started planning. "How was your day, honey?" Tessa asked, pecking my cheek with lips that had been on another man hours before. "Productive," I said. "Brought down a 12-story office complex on 5th Street. Clean demolition. Perfect timing." She laughed, missing the metaphor entirely. "You and your explosions. I'll never understand how you stay so calm with all that destruction." I sipped my coffee and watched her scroll through her phone. 17 new messages from Logan. I knew because I'd installed tracking software on her device while she showered. "Tessa," I said carefully, "remember that consent form for the life insurance update? The one you signed last week without reading?" "Yeah, what about it?" "Nothing important. Just making sure our assets are properly aligned." What she'd actually signed was a document transferring our joint properties into a limited liability company under my sole control. Legal, binding, and completely her own fault for not reading what she put her name on. Over the next hour, I systematically locked her out of our shared accounts, changed passwords, downloaded financial records, created digital copies of every email, text, and compromising photo I could find. Tessa sat across from me, texting Logan about their weekend plans, oblivious to the demolition happening right beside her. The next morning, I made breakfast like nothing had changed. Pancakes, bacon, fresh orange juice. Ally stumbled downstairs in her school clothes, hair messy from sleep. "Morning, Dad," she mumbled, grabbing a plate. "Morning, sweetheart." I watched her eat, memorizing her face. My daughter. No matter what happened next, that wouldn't change. Tessa appeared in silk pajamas, already checking her phone. "I need the car today." Meeting with Elaine about the Peterson campaign. "Sure," I said. "Take it." What I didn't mention was that I'd removed the car from our insurance policy and reported it stolen to the DMV with a delayed activation. By noon, she'd be stranded at her office with a vehicle she couldn't legally drive. "You're in a good mood," Tessa observed, studying my face for cracks. I raised my coffee mug in a toast. "Here's to new beginnings." She smiled and clinked her juice glass against my mug, completely missing the irony. After they left, I opened my laptop and transferred $5,000 to Logan Price's business account with a note. Payment for services, rendered to the Hartley family. His bank would have records, Tessa would have explaining to do, and I'd have the first piece of evidence in what was about to become the most methodical destruction of their lives they could imagine. Rowena Clark had the kind of face that had seen too much and forgiven too little. Former city building inspector turned private investigator, she'd built a reputation for finding things people wanted to stay buried. "Your wife's been busy," she said, sliding a manila folder across the diner table. "This affair didn't start last year like you thought. Try 4 years ago." I opened the folder, bank statements, hotel receipts, credit card charges, a paper trail of betrayal dating back to before Allie hit middle school. "There's more," Rowena continued. Those IVF treatments she claimed you needed? Never happened. She was already pregnant when she told you about fertility issues. And look at this. She handed me a photocopy of an insurance form. Tessa had attempted to list Logan Price as Allie's emergency contact and potential guardian. The application was rejected for being incomplete, but the intent was clear. She was planning to leave you before Allie was even born, Rowena said. The only thing that stopped her was Logan getting arrested for attack that year. Spent 8 months in county jail. I studied the documents, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, not hurt, something sharper and more focused. There's one more thing, Rowena said. Your friend Miles? The one who always suggested those weekend fishing trips when your wife was visiting her sister. He was getting paid, $500 each time to keep you occupied. She showed me bank transfers from Tessa's personal account to Miles Fahey. My supposed best friend had been selling me out for beer money. What do you want me to do with all this? Rowena asked. Keep digging. I want everything, every lie, every scheme, every person who helped her. I closed the folder and met her eyes. And I want it organized like evidence for a court case. You planning to file for divorce? I'm planning something much more permanent than that. 2 days later, Rowena called with an update. Got into their text messages. Logan's been pushing her to leave you for months, but she keeps stalling. Says she needs to secure her financial position first. Meaning? Meaning she's been embezzling from her company's charity fund. Small amounts over 2 years, but it adds up to nearly $60,000. She's got it stashed in an account under her maiden name. I felt a smile tug at my lips. Forward me everything. Brandon, Rowena's voice carried a warning. Whatever you're planning, be careful. People like your wife don't go down quietly. Neither do buildings, I said. But they all fall the same way when you know where to place the charges. That evening, Tessa came home late again, clothes wrinkled, hair messed up from Logan's hands. She found me in the kitchen reading a demolition manual. Still working? She asked, guilt making her voice artificially sweet. Always, I said, without looking up. Did you know that the key to a successful controlled demolition isn't the explosives? It's knowing exactly which supports to remove, so the whole structure collapses in on itself. That's nice, honey. She wasn't listening, already heading upstairs to wash Logan's smell off her skin. I turned the page and continued reading, planning the systematic destruction of everything she'd built her lies on. The beauty of legal revenge is that it doesn't require breaking any laws. It just requires knowing which ones your enemies have already broken. I started with Logan's gym. As a former building inspector, I knew exactly what violations to look for. A quick visit during off hours revealed outdated electrical work, improper ventilation, and a storage room that violated fire codes. But I wanted something more creative. I bought a small mold cultivation kit online, completely legal for educational purposes. After growing a healthy colony of black mold in my garage, I carefully introduced it behind the drywall in Logan's office during a weekend when the gym was closed. Within 2 weeks, members started complaining about breathing problems and musty odors. Anonymous tips to the health department led to an inspection. The gym was shut down pending remediation. Logan's sponsorship deals with 2 local supplement companies evaporated overnight. His business insurance refused to cover the damage, claiming it was due to negligent maintenance. Tessa was frantic. She called me at work, voice tight with panic. Did you hear about Logan's gym? She asked, fishing for information. Logan? I kept my voice neutral. Isn't he Allie's trainer? Yes, exactly. The health department closed his place down. Some kind of mold problem. That's unfortunate. Poor ventilation will do that to a building. Hope he had good insurance. The silence stretched between us, heavy with her unspoken fear. Meanwhile, I'd been feeding information to Tessa's company about her embezzlement. Not directly. That would be too obvious. Instead, I created an anonymous email account and sent carefully worded tips to the accounting department about irregularities in charity fund disbursements. The audit began 3 days later. Tessa came home that evening looking like she'd seen a ghost. "They're reviewing all the charity accounts at work." "Routine audit?" I asked, not looking up from my newspaper. "I don't know. Maybe." Elaine seemed nervous. "I'm sure it's nothing. Honest people don't have anything to worry about." She flinched at the word honest like I'd slapped her. The next morning, I received a call from Rowena. "Your wife just withdrew $20,000 in cash from that hidden account. Looks like she's preparing to run." "Let her run," I said. "Running won't save her from what's already in motion." That afternoon, Logan called Tessa 17 times. I knew because I was still monitoring her phone. The transcripts made for interesting reading. "Logan, this is screwed, Tessa. First the gym, now your company's asking questions. Someone's onto us. Tessa, nobody knows anything. We just need to stay calm." Logan, "Calm? I'm losing everything. That mold didn't just appear, someone put it there." Tessa, "You're being paranoid." Logan, "Am I? Because your husband's been real screwing friendly lately. Asking about the gym, asking about you, real concerned." The doubt was spreading. Perfect. I deleted my tracking software that evening, right before sitting down to dinner with my wife and daughter. Let Tessa wonder how much I knew. Let her imagination fill in the gaps. Uncertainty was a more powerful weapon than any explosive I'd ever used. Rowena delivered the steroid evidence on a Thursday morning. Photos of Logan's private stash, purchase receipts, text messages with his supplier. Enough to put him away for distribution charges. "How'd you get into his apartment?" I asked. "I didn't." His ex-girlfriend did. "Turns out Logan's been cheating on your wife with a 22-year-old cocktail waitress named Brandy. Girl was happy to help once she found out about Tessa. The irony was beautiful. A cheater cheated on by another cheater, exposed by his third sufferer." I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "What's the plan?" Rowena asked. "Anonymous tip to Pills Division. Full evidence package. Let them do the rest." Logan was arrested at his apartment at 6 a.m. on Friday. The bust made the local news, complete with footage of him in handcuffs, shouting about being framed. His supplier rolled immediately, confirming Logan's distribution network in exchange for reduced charges. Tessa watched the news report with her hand over her mouth, face white as paper. "Isn't that your trainer?" Allie asked innocently. "Former trainer," Tessa corrected quickly. "I stopped working with him months ago." I knew better. They'd been together 3 nights earlier. The hotel receipts were still in her purse. "Good instincts," I told Tessa. "Something seemed off about that guy." She stared at me like I was a stranger, trying to read the expression on my face, finding nothing. Logan made bail by Monday morning. 2 hours later, he was at our house, pounding on the front door. I watched through the window as Tessa let him in, their voices rising in urgent whispers. Then I heard him yelling, "Where is she? Where's Allie?" My daughter's voice, scared. "Dad?" What's happening? I was downstairs in 3 seconds. Logan stood in my living room, face red with rage, pointing an accusing finger at Tessa. "She's gone," he snarled. "Somebody cleaned out my apartment while I was locked up. Took everything. Money, jewelry, that watch you gave me, everything." Tessa's eyes widened. "I didn't..." "Bees. Nobody else knew where I kept that stuff. You or your husband." "Logan," I said calmly, "I think you should leave." He spun toward me, fists clenched. "You son of a witch! This is your doing, isn't it?" The gym, the arrest, now this? I don't know what you're talking about. "Dad?" Allie's voice was small, confused. She stood on the stairs in her school clothes, backpack slung over one shoulder. Logan looked at her and something shifted in his expression. Calculation replaced rage. "Come on, kid," he said. "Let's get out of here. Your mom and I need to talk." "She's not going anywhere," I said. The hell she isn't. Tessa's her mother. She has rights. Before I could stop him, Logan had grabbed Allie's arm and was pulling her toward the door. Tessa followed, torn between protecting her daughter and protecting her lover. Dad, Allie called as Logan dragged her outside. I didn't chase them. Instead, I went to my office and activated the GPS tracking app I'd installed on Allie's phone the week before. They were heading toward Logan's gym. Perfect. The gym was still closed, yellow tape across the doors, but Logan had keys. I found them in the empty workout area, Allie sitting on a bench while Logan paced like a caged animal. There he is, Logan snarled when I walked in. The demolition expert. Let my daughter go, Logan. Whatever's between us doesn't involve her. Everything involves her. She's the only thing keeping your wife from leaving your pathetic A. Allie looked between us, frightened and confused. Mom, what's he talking about? Tessa couldn't meet her eyes. The guilt was eating her alive, and it showed. 16 years, Logan continued, advancing on me. 16 years that woman wasted with you when she could have been with me. 16 years of lies. The only liar here is standing right behind you, I said calmly. That's when he snapped. Logan rushed me with a wild swing that would have knocked out a smaller man, but I'd been expecting it. I'd been planning for it. I let him hit me, let him knock me down, let him kick me twice in the ribs while Allie screamed and Tessa tried to pull him away. What Logan didn't see was the small camera I'd activated before entering the gym. What he didn't know was that every punch, every kick, every profanity-laced threat was being recorded in high definition. Stop it, Allie cried. Stop hitting him. Logan finally backed off, breathing hard, knuckles bloody. Stay away from us, Hartley. All of us. I struggled to my feet, making sure to wince visibly. Allie, come here. She's staying with me, Logan said. No, Allie said quietly. I'm going with my dad. The look on Logan's face was worth every bruise. Tessa started to protest, but Allie cut her off. Mom, I don't understand what's happening, but I know Dad would never hurt me. I can't say the same about him. We left Logan standing in his dead gym, surrounded by the ruins of his business and his pride. In the car, Allie was quiet for a long time. Finally, she asked, Dad, are you and Mom getting divorced? Some truths deserve silence, sweetheart. She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. That evening, I edited the gym footage, removed the audio of my taunts, shortened Logan's explanations. What remained was 6 minutes of a steroid dealer brutally attacking an innocent man while a teenage girl begged him to stop. The video went viral within hours. Logan's face was plastered across social media with captions like Roid Rage Psycho Attacks Family Man and Personal Trainer from Hell. His bail was revoked by morning. Miles Fahey lived in a studio apartment that smelled like old beer and broken dreams. When he opened the door and saw me standing there, his face went pale. Brandon, hey man, what's up? We need to talk, Miles. About what? About the $500 Tess has been paying you to babysit me. His shoulders sagged. The fight went out of him before it even started. Look, I can explain. Explain how my best friend sold me out for beer money. Explain how you helped my wife cheat on me for 4 years. I'm listening. He stepped aside to let me in. The apartment was worse than I'd imagined. Takeout containers everywhere. Unpaid bills stacked on a card table. The life of a man who'd given up on himself long before he betrayed me. She said you wouldn't get hurt, Miles said weakly. Said it was just about having some space, some freedom. I didn't know about the other guy until when? Until I saw them together at Morrison's bar last year. Really together, you know? That's when I knew it wasn't just about space. I sat down in his only chair. But you kept taking the money. I needed it, Brandon. The security company laid me off. I was behind on rent, behind on everything. $500 to take you fishing a few weekends a month? It seemed harmless. Harmless. I tasted the word like poison. My marriage falling apart was harmless? I'm sorry, man. I really am. If I could take it back. You can't. But you can make it right. Hope flickered in his eyes. How? I pulled out a contract I'd prepared. You're going to confess. On camera. Everything you did, everyone you helped, every lie you told. Sign this release form, and we can call it even. He read the document quickly. This gives you permission to use the confession however you want. That's right. What if I say no? I showed him the bank records Rowena had found. Transfers from Tessa, but also evidence of security fraud at his former job. Falsified contracts, inflated billing, client money skimmed off the top. Then I turned these over to the district attorney and let them sort it out. Your choice, Miles. Prison or public humiliation. His hands shook as he signed the release form. The confession took 20 minutes. Miles broke down twice, admitting everything. The payments from Tessa, the lies he'd told me, the weekend trips designed to keep me away from home, even his suspicions about Logan and what kind of man he really was. I thought she'd leave you clean, he whispered into the camera. I thought it would be better than some ugly divorce. I didn't know she was stealing from you, too. Stealing what? Your retirement fund. She's been moving money out of your 401k a little at a time. Setting up accounts you don't know about. Planning to take half of everything when she finally left. The camera kept rolling as Miles described the full scope of Tessa's financial betrayal. Bank accounts in other states, credit cards in Allie's name, investment accounts hidden behind shell companies. By the time he finished, I had enough evidence to destroy her in any court in the country. What happens now? Miles asked. Now you disappear for a while, take a vacation, visit family, stay off social media. And the confession? Goes to everyone who needs to see it. I left Miles sitting in his pathetic apartment, knowing I'd probably never see him again. The confession video was uploaded to a private server within an hour, with copies sent to Tessa's employer, Logan's parole officer, and a dozen local news outlets. Miles's security company fired him that afternoon. His landlord received an anonymous tip about lease violations. His few remaining friends got copies of the confession in their email. By evening, Miles Fahey had attempted self-destruction with a bottle of sleeping pills and cheap whiskey. The paramedics found him in time, but barely. He'd be in psychiatric hold for at least 72 hours. I felt nothing when I heard the news. Not guilt, not satisfaction, just the cold certainty that justice had been served. Elaine Morris ran Tessa's PR firm like her personal kingdom, and she was about to find out what happened to kingdoms built on corruption. The charity fund embezzlement evidence I'd gathered was devastating. Not just Tessa's theft, but Elaine's complicity in covering it up. Email chains showing how they'd manipulated the books. Voice recordings of Elaine joking about redirecting the Poor People Fund to pay for her office renovation. Rowena had outdone herself getting the inside information. Tessa's not the only one stealing. Elaine's been skimming from client accounts for 2 years. Your wife was just the scapegoat in case anyone noticed. How much? $250,000. Easy, maybe more. I scheduled the leak for maximum impact. Friday afternoon, just as the weekend news cycle was starting. Anonymous packages sent to the State Attorney General, the Better Business Bureau, and 3 investigative journalists who specialized in corporate fraud. The story broke during the Peterson campaign fundraiser. Tessa was on stage presenting a check to the Children's Hospital when the first reporter called Elaine for comment. Within an hour, the police were at the hotel. I watched it all on the local news live stream. Tessa in her elegant black dress, handcuffs clicking around her wrists as she was led through a crowd of cameras and donors, her makeup running, her carefully constructed world collapsing in real time. Allie was at her friend's house, thank God. She didn't need to see her mother's perp walk broadcast across the city. But she found out anyway. By evening, the arrest video was everywhere. Tessa Hartley, successful PR executive and devoted mother, charged with embezzling funds meant for sick children. "Dad," Allie said when she came home, "is it true?" I looked at my daughter, 16 years old, watching her mother's lies unravel on social media, and chose honesty. "Yes." She nodded slowly. I knew something was wrong. Mom's been different lately. Scared, always looking over her shoulder. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." "Are you?" "Sorry, I mean." The question caught me off guard. I studied Allie's face, looking for judgment, for blame, for the tears that should have been there. Instead, I found something that looked like relief. "Your mother made her choices," I said finally. "Now she has to live with the consequences." Allie hugged me then, fierce and desperate. "I'm glad it's just us now." My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "I think we need to talk. She's burning everyone." Greg Logan's business partner. The final piece of the puzzle. Greg Wyatt owned 3 bars in the city and had the kind of face that suggested he'd seen every variety of human weakness. When he offered to help me destroy Logan and Tessa, I should have been suspicious. "Logan's been using my places to move product," Greg explained over coffee. "Steroids, sure, but other stuff too. Pills, powder, whatever his gym buddies wanted. I kept quiet because the money was good, but now he's dragging me down with him." "What do you want from me?" "Protection. I give you everything I've got on Logan and your wife. You keep my name out of whatever you're planning." He slid a manila envelope across the table. Photos, transaction records, even some video surveillance from my security cameras. Logan and Tessa planning their little love affair, counting money from pill sales, laughing about how stupid you were. I opened the envelope. The photos were damning. Tessa and Logan in Greg's back office, bundling cash. Logan handing baggies to customers. Tessa kissing Logan while he counted pill money. "This is enough to put them both away for years," I said. "That's the idea." "So we got a deal?" I shook his hand. "We have a deal." What I didn't expect was Logan to figure out that Greg had flipped. What I didn't plan for was Logan's capacity for violence when cornered. The call came at 2 a.m. Greg, barely conscious, whispering into his phone from the floor of his bar. "He knocked the crap out of me, Brandon. Logan." Came in through the back, said I was a snitch, said I was dead. Broke my ribs, man. Maybe my skull. "Did you call the police?" "Called you first. Security cameras got everything. He's screwed." The footage was brutal. Logan kicking Greg while he was down, screaming about betrayal, smashing bottles over his head. Attempted homicide, clearly premeditated, all caught in high definition. I called 911 for Greg, then uploaded the video to every news outlet in the state. By morning, Logan's face was on every front page with headlines like "Steroid Dealer's Violent Rampage" and "Gym Owner Nearly Homicides Business Partner." Logan was arrested at Tessa's apartment, where he'd been hiding since the attack. The police found him in her bed, both of them without clothes and high on whatever cocktail of pills he'd been peddling. The photos from that arrest were the final nail in Tessa's coffin. Her PR career was over. Her reputation was destroyed. Her lover was going to prison for attempted homicide. But the real surprise came when Allie approached me with an envelope the next morning. "Dad, I need to show you something." Inside was the real DNA test, the one Tessa had ordered to prove Allie wasn't mine. The results showed what I'd known in my heart for 16 years. Allie was my daughter. 100%. "Mom showed me the fake one," Allie said quietly. "She wanted me to hate you. Said you'd abandon us once you found out I wasn't really yours. But you knew better?" "I knew you better, and I knew she was lying. Mom's been lying about everything for so long, I don't think she remembers what's true anymore." I pulled my daughter close, feeling something crack in the ice that had formed around my heart. "It's almost done," I whispered. "What is?" "Justice." The Riverside Hotel's grand ballroom had hosted charity galas, political fundraisers, and society weddings for 50 years. Tonight, it would host the systematic destruction of everyone who had betrayed me. I'd sent invitations to a fake business merger meeting. Tessa, fresh out on bail and desperate for money. Logan, released pending trial and equally desperate. Elaine Morris, suspended from her job and facing federal charges. Miles Fahey, just discharged from psychiatric hold and looking for redemption. They came because they thought I was offering them a way out, a business deal that would solve their financial problems and give them leverage against me. They were half right. I was giving them a way out, just not the kind they expected. "Brandon." Tessa rushed across the lobby in a dress I'd bought her for our anniversary 2 years ago. She looked thin, haggard, but still beautiful in the way that had once fooled me into thinking she had a soul. "Thank you for coming," I said. "I know things have been difficult." "Difficult?" She laughed, high and brittle. "I'm facing federal prison. Logan's attorney says he might take a plea deal that includes testifying against me. Miles is in therapy talking about coming clean to everyone. My life is falling apart. Maybe we can fix that." Hope flickered in her eyes. The same hope I'd once felt when she told me she loved me, when she said she wanted to build a life together, when she promised to be faithful. Logan arrived 20 minutes later, looking like he'd been living in his car. Probably had been. His assets were frozen, his gym was condemned, and his legal bills were astronomical. "This better be good, Hartley," he growled. "I got nothing left to lose." "That makes 2 of us," I replied. Elaine and Miles completed the guest list. All of them damaged, desperate, and dangerous. All of them exactly where I wanted them. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began once they were seated around the conference table. "Thank you for coming. I know you're all wondering why I asked you here." "Cut the crap, Brandon," Logan interrupted. "What's the deal?" I pressed a button on my phone. The room's video screens flickered to life, displaying a live feed that was being broadcast to every major news outlet in the state. "The deal," I said calmly, "is that you're all going to tell the truth." Finally. On the screens, evidence began to play. Tessa laughing about my idiot trust in a recording I'd made 6 months ago. Logan counting pill money while discussing how to frame his competitors. Miles confessing to taking bribes. Elaine joking about stealing from charity funds. "You recorded us," Tessa whispered. "You've been recording everything." For months, every lie, every scheme, every betrayal. All of it documented and verified. Logan lunged across the table, but hotel security was faster. They'd been waiting outside on my instructions, along with federal agents and local police. "You son of a witch!" Logan screamed as they wrestled him to the ground. "You set us up." "No," I said, standing as chaos erupted around me. "You set yourselves up. I just provided the stage." Tessa was sobbing, her makeup running in black streams down her cheeks. "Brandon, please. Think about Allie. Think about our family." "I am thinking about my family. That's why I'm removing the cancer from it." The arrests were swift and efficient. Federal agents for the embezzlement charges, local police for the pill trafficking. Everyone cuffed and read their rights while cameras rolled and reporters shouted questions. I walked through the chaos untouched, invisible, already forgotten as the media focused on their bigger story. In the parking lot, I found Allie waiting by my truck. "Is it over?" she asked. "It's over." She climbed into the passenger seat without another word. As we drove away from the hotel, I could see the flashing lights in my rearview mirror. Red and blue strobes painting the night sky like fireworks. Justice looked beautiful from a distance. 6 months later, I lived behind steel gates in a house carved into the mountain 20 miles outside the city. Ally was with me, attending private school, building a new life away from the wreckage of the old one. Tessa had been sentenced to 8 years federal prison for embezzlement and fraud. Logan got 12 years for pill trafficking and attack. Elaine received 5 years and full asset forfeiture. Miles disappeared entirely, probably started over somewhere new with a different name. The house was perfect for what I needed. Isolated, secure, protected by layers of legal barriers and physical ones. Nobody could reach us here unless I allowed it. But on a cold Tuesday evening in December, someone tried. I was reading in my study when the security system chimed. The gate camera showed a figure stumbling up the mountain road on foot. Barefoot, actually. Torn clothes, tangled hair, makeup smeared beyond recognition. Tessa. She must have been walking for hours. The nearest bus stop was 15 miles down the mountain, and it was snowing. Her feet were bleeding through torn stockings. Her expensive coat was missing buttons. She looked like a ghost, or maybe a corpse that hadn't realized it was dead yet. I watched her approach the gate through the monitor, knowing she could see the camera, knowing she was looking directly at me through the lens. "Brandon," she whispered, her voice carrying through the intercom. "Please." Allie appeared in the doorway of my study. "Dad? Is that your mother?" We stood together watching the monitor as Tessa collapsed against the steel bars of the gate. Her breath came out in white puffs in the cold air. She was shivering violently. "Please," she said again. "I have nowhere else to go." I thought about 16 years of marriage, about the woman I'd loved who had never really existed, about the lies and betrayals and stolen money and broken promises. I thought about Allie, safe and warm beside me, finally free from the poison that had infected our home for so long. I thought about justice, about consequences, about the steel gates that protected us from the world outside. Then I pressed the button. The gate motor hummed to life. Steel bars began to separate with mechanical precision, opening slowly, inevitably. Tessa's face transformed with hope and relief. She struggled to her feet, ready to run through the opening, ready to collapse into my arms and beg for forgiveness she would never deserve. The gate rose 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. Then it stopped and reversed direction. Tessa's scream echoed off the mountains as the steel bars slammed shut with the finality of a coffin lid. She threw herself against the gate, reaching through the bars, crying my name over and over, but I had already turned away from the monitor, already walked back to my chair, already picked up my book and continued reading. Behind me, Allie watched her mother collapse in the snow outside our steel sanctuary. "Dad?" she said quietly. "Yes. I love you." I smiled and turned the page. Outside, the wind howled through the mountains, carrying away the sound of Tessa's desperate cries until there was nothing left but silence. Perfect, final silence.